You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Nearly 6,000 folks in Chicago will get letters this holiday season saying their unpaid medical debt is forgiven. That's one hell of a gift, folks. This is the work of a number of churches there in Chicago. Joining us right now is Reverend Otis Moss III, senior pastor of Trinity, United Church of Christ in Chicago. Pastor Moss, glad to have you on the show. So how did this thing begin? Where did it come from?
Well, it began with a conversation with myself and Reverend Tracy Blackman, who is the National Justice and Witness Minister for the United Church of Christ. There was an article in the New York Times of a foundation entitled RIP Medical Debt. And two seasoned saints, elders, had gathered together and said that they wanted to forgive the debt of people in New York. And as a result of getting their friends together, they were able to raise $12,000, and they were able to purchase $2 million worth of debt and forgive the debt for people in the New York area. So we decided to get into some holy mischief together, and that we would conspire and pull together churches so that we could forgive debt, specifically in Cook County, more specifically in the poorest zip codes in Chicago. This would not be about those who were members of the church. It was the call of the church that we are to be the church, to reset the moral compass, not only in our city, but nationally. That we believe that this is more than a moment, but a movement, especially with a broken healthcare system where greed has taken over. So think about this, Roland. We raised $38,000 and we purchased $5.3 million of debt in the poorest zip codes in Chicago. Individuals will get a letter that will say, have a wonderful and blessed Thanksgiving. All your debts are forgiven. And just list the names of the churches. We're very clear that many of you will never come to one of our churches, darken the door. That's not what this is about. This is about living out compassion, restoration, and empowering our community in a culture that is so greed-centered that is profiting off the misery of our people.
Of course, you made this announcement yesterday in the pulpit, and here it is.
Able to raise funds to purchase $5.3 million worth of debt in the city of Chicago and Cook County. They will receive a very special card before Thanksgiving, completely anonymous. They don't know that this is coming. The card will simply say, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We want you to know that all your debts have been forgiven.
Reverend Moss, since you made this announcement, have church members or others reached out to you and said, hey, let's go higher, let's do more of this? Or because it's not just your church or churches, individuals could actually do this.
Absolutely. Individuals can do this and have been. People have reached out to us. What we're planning to do is that our denomination, United Church of Christ, all of our churches are going to be part of a Giving Tuesday under the leadership of Reverend Tracy Blackman, where every church in the denomination is going to be focused on relieving medical debt. We are going to be talking with the AME Church, the AME Zion Church, the Progressive National Baptist Convention, the National Baptist Convention, Lot Carey, the PAW, the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World, Church of God in Christ and Full Gospel, to say, let's be the church. No more plain offerings, no helicopter offerings. This is going to be about releasing people of debt, beginning a movement, and pushing forward the agenda that we can no longer have predatory capitalism as the centerpiece in America.
This is also, I think, one of the things that people need to understand, that we talk about the church helping those in need, helping the poor in need. Medical debt is the number one reason why people in this nation file for bankruptcy. In 2004, when I filed for bankruptcy, it was because I owed nearly $100,000 in medical costs after my appendix ruptured, covered the Democratic Convention in 2000, and not having insurance. And the reality is, you have folks in D.C. Who have gone out of their way to make it difficult for people to file for bankruptcy when it comes to credit card debt or medical bills. But again, if you're a Donald Trump and you take billions from banks and you use casinos go to bankrupt, then of course they call you a financial genius.
A financial genius is an interesting term to utilize for the person who is occupying public housing in Washington, D.C. at this moment. But what is so very clear is that, let me share with the audience. So we purchased the debt, $38,000, $5.3 million. So the hospitals had already written off the debt, and then they were selling it to debt collectors who are looking at this as a predatory opportunity in order to ensure that a certain group of people will become wealthy. Now, the ironic and the God move, which is interesting, the person who runs the foundation, RIP Medical Debt, used to be a debt collector, and his conscience was bothering him that he was making money off of the poorest people. So when you wipe out medical debt for someone who's trying to decide, should I keep the lights on? Should I buy food for my children? Do I pay the utilities? The medical debt is always going to be the last thing on the list. Then it destroys your credit. And when it destroys your credit, then it makes it difficult for you to be able to purchase a home. So we keep people in a cycle of poverty. And I believe that this type of movement, you can have people on both sides of the aisle who can say that I want my moral compass correct. I believe in compassion and restoration, and I want to see the empowerment of communities, especially those who are the poorest of the poor.
Well, it's certainly a great thing you and others are doing there. We certainly appreciate it and hope that folks will join this effort. And what's the website again?
The website is ripmedicaldebt.com. That's Rest in Peace Medical Debt. You can also use the hashtag #BeTheChurch. Encourage your pastor. Encourage a member of your denomination. Tell them to join the movement, that we're going to change and transform the way that we think about healthcare in this society. Because as a person who is a part of the Christian tradition, we follow a person who is a healer who does not care if you have a pre-existing condition, who will ensure that you are empowered, that you are lifted. And even if you don't say thank you, he will not take back the healing nor send a debt collector after you.
All right, Pastor Otis Moss III. I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, brother. You all take care.
All right. Sure, Michael. Are we going to see Paula White or Franklin Graham do something like this?
I mean, look, Roland,
No.
I would be surprised, but I think the whole idea of our health care is an issue that's going to only become more, I guess, large scale, if you will, as it relates to politics. I think in the next 10 or 15 years, when you think about issues, what are going to be the 2 or 3 most critical issues for both political parties? I think when you think about wealth and income inequality, I think healthcare is probably going to be number 1. And so I think for the Republican Party, they're going to have to some kind of way figure out how do we tackle this problem from a conservative disposition. A lot of Republican voters who live in those rural areas, who live in Appalachia, for example, some of those folks don't have a doctor that's close to them. Sometimes the nearest doctor is over 100 miles away. At some point, some of those folks are going to realize, you know what? I know I vote consistently for the Republican Party, but now my grandmother's impacted by this. My mom, my dad's impacted by this. So at some point, I think the Republican Party is going to hit a reality check where some of their most ardent supporters are going to say, we demand you guys to do something on this. And so it would be wise for them to do something now versus later, because I think the political ramifications of waiting till later may be something that is detrimental to the party.
This, Julian, is what is great. All people out there who are haters of churches, what y'all gonna say now? What you gonna say now? Because there's a whole lot of people who hate on churches, but this is the church as a collective moving to help citizens in this country.
And it's really revolutionary, Roland, because the reverberations should be large. You talked about poor credit scores because you didn't pay your medical debt. Well, sometimes your credit score is a factor in whether or not you can get a job. So if you want to pay your debt and you go to get a job, but you have the poor credit score, you're in trouble. This is, I really, Otis Moss is, basically fearless leader, and Tracy Blackman as well. But the greater issue is the healthcare system and how broken it is, and how people have to make a choice. Sometimes people are hurt. They won't even go to a doctor. You have elders who are halving their insulin or taking half of a pill because they can't afford it. And you know, the Democratic Party, I'm going to say neither party has grappled with this properly. I love Elizabeth Warren. I'm not endorsing her, but I enjoy her energy. Everybody's going to have free health care. Well, how are we going to pay for it? You have some people who want to preserve the insurance company's role, and the insurance company's role, as Brother Moss said, has been predatory toward people. I don't know if we need to preserve that. Medicare for all makes a lot of sense, but everybody doesn't agree with it. So the Democrats are on the hook, too. The Republicans don't want the Medicare for all. They want to privatize, and they're just wrong. They're always wrong. But you know, but Democrats are on the hook on this one, too.
But here's the piece, Abe. I mean, what you're dealing with here, you're dealing with individuals who understand how debt weighs people down. I call it invisible shackles. And so I think what these churches are doing, and I certainly hope it spreads like wildfire all across the country.
Absolutely. I have to commend them. I grew up in my youth as a member of the United Church of Christ, and that particular denomination has a huge history of work in social justice arenas. So in terms of this particular initiative, I couldn't be prouder of it. I hope that other denominations take inspiration from this. And I kind of agree with you. I mean, this is a situation where a lot of us, including myself, have been very critical of a lot of these prosperity gospel institutions that have been built up across the country that seem to be very overtly concerned in buying Maybach and jet planes for their pastors based on the meager earnings of their parishioners. It's good to see, for once, a group of churches come together and collectively work to help the community, whether or not they put a dime in their collection plate. That is what I think of when I think of the real sort of spirit of what church should be about.
All right, real quick, final comment, Julian.
It's exciting to see churches come together and give back to the community, whether you're a member or not, whether you're tied or not. It's been oftentimes we see churches that receive a lot of money, and you know they may not give back to the community. I have to agree with Dr. Malvo. We have to, Democrats and Republicans, we have to find something where this health care can be tackled. You know, free health care sounds good, but at the end of the day, we got to figure out, you know, is it feasible? You know, can we do it?
All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, fam, it's almost that time. The holiday season, of course, is, for many of us, the favorite time of the year. Now, whether you celebrate Halloween, Thanksgiving, Ramadan, Christmas, Kwanzaa, New Year's, all of these, of course, from October to the end of the year, this is when you think about spending time with the people you love the most. This is also the time to count your blessings and support those less fortunate, and look at how you can have an impact on their lives. Well, I have the perfect opportunity for you to be a holiday hero and have a major impact on other families. Here's the deal. Right now, hundreds of thousands of Americans are sitting in jail without being convicted of a crime. Why? Because they lack the financial resources to pay their bail. Now think about it. If you are arrested for any minor offense, you'll be taken directly to jail. If you don't have bail money, whether it's a few $100 or a few $1,000s, you will stay there until a court date is scheduled. Now that could be days, weeks, or even months. America's bail system is broken and has created a two-tier system of justice, one for the rich and one for the poor. Folks, freedom should be free. That's why the Ebony Foundation is partnering with the Bail Project and is sponsoring the Home by the Holiday campaign. With your help, our goal is to bail out 1,000 people by New Year's Day. Now, how's that for a holiday gift? A donation from you can change someone's life tomorrow, and here's why it is critical. People of color represent upwards of 90% of the jail population across the country. It ranges from 50 to 90% depending upon where you are. Of course, then when they stayed in jail, 90% of people with misdemeanors ended up pleading guilty. However, when bail was paid, 50% of the cases were dismissed and less than 2% received the jail sentence. Sometimes justice needs just us to join the fight. Folks, you can be a holiday hero by donating $25, $50 or more to help the Ebony Foundation bring our brothers and sisters home for the holidays. To donate, go to Home by the Holiday homebythe.com. It's HOMEBYTHEHOLIDAY.com. And of course, the Ebony Foundation is tied to Ebony Magazine. And so we certainly appreciate the work that they're doing to assist those who are most in need. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.